The Little Mermaid. Deep under the sea stood a palace made of shells and stone. The Sea King lived there with his mother and 6 daughters. The youngest princess was quiet and thoughtful. She kept a tiny garden and a small statue of a human boy. She often looked up and wondered about the world above the water. Each sister could visit the surface at age 15. They returned with stories, moonlight on waves, bells on the shore, storms that lit the night. These stories filled the youngest sister with longing. She waited and wished for her turn. On her 15th birthday, she rose to the surface. The evening was clear. A ship moved across the water with music and lights. A young prince stood on deck. Fireworks bloomed in the sky. The little mermaid watched the prince and felt her heart grow warm. Suddenly, the wind changed. The sea grew rough. The ship broke apart. The prince fell into the water. The mermaid dived, held him up, and swam until the storm was over. At dawn, she carried him to a quiet beach near a white building. People came from the shore. The mermaid slipped back into the sea. The prince opened his eyes and saw only a girl from the land. He never knew who had saved him in the dark. The mermaid returned home, but she could not forget the prince. She asked her grandmother about humans. Do they live forever? What happens when they die? Her grandmother said, "We see folk live long lives, but when our years end, we become sea foam. Humans live fewer years, yet they have a soul that keeps going. If a human loved you more than anyone and married you, his soul would join with yours. But that is hard. Humans cannot live underwater, and you cannot walk on land." The mermaid looked at her tail and grew quiet. Still, her wish did not fade. At last, she swam to the far edge of the sea where a sea witch lived. The witch was clever and sharp. "I know what you want," said the witch. "You want legs and a chance to win a human heart." "I do," said the mermaid. "I can't help," said the witch. "Drink this on the shore at dawn. Your tail will become legs, and you will walk like people. You will move beautifully, but each step will feel like sharp shells. There is a price. Your voice will be mine. And one more rule: if the prince marries another, your heart will break at sunrise and you will become foam." The mermaid thought of the prince's kind face. "I accept," she whispered. The witch took the mermaid's lovely voice and sealed it in a shell. She mixed a potion the color of morning. The mermaid swam to the beach, drank the potion, and fainted. When she woke, she lay on warm sand. Her tail was gone. She had 2 pale legs. The prince found her and wrapped her in a cloak. She could not speak, but she smiled. He brought her to the palace. He taught her to walk. She learned quickly, though every step hurt. At night there were dances. She moved with quiet grace, and everyone watched in wonder. The prince often said, "You remind me of a voice I once heard in a storm." If she could have spoken, she would have told him the truth. Instead, she listened. The prince talked about the girl he believed had saved him on the shore. "If I found that girl," he said, "I would thank her forever. I think I could love no one else." The mermaid's heart bent but did not break. She stayed by his side and saved her tears for the sea. Time passed. A letter came from a neighboring kingdom. The prince was asked to visit a princess. He said to the silent girl, "My heart will not change, but I must be polite." At the foreign court, a young woman came forward. She was the same girl from the white building by the sea, the one who found the prince after the storm. The prince believed she had saved him. Gratitude grew into love. A wedding was announced, The ships were dressed with flowers. Musicians played. The sea lay calm. The prince asked the mermaid to sail with them because he could not do without her gentle smile. She stood on the deck and felt the cold breath of dawn. She remembered the witch's warning. Her story was almost over. That night, the mermaid sisters rose from the water. Their bright hair had been cut short. They held a small knife wrapped in seaweed. "We paid dearly for this hope," they said. "If you use it before sunrise and end the prince's life, the sea will take you back. Your tail will return, and you will live with us again." The mermaid took the knife and walked to the prince's door. She listened to his quiet breathing. The blade felt heavy. She thought of his kindness and his steady eyes. She went back to the rail and dropped the knife into the sea. It felt like a small star. Morning came pink and gold. The first light touched the sails. The mermaid felt the spell tighten. She lifted her face to the wind and let herself fall into the water. But she did not end. She changed. She rose again, light as foam and clear as air. Around her floated gentle spirits called daughters of the air. One said, "You chose not to harm. Because of that, you are not lost." We move through the world doing quiet good. After many years of kindness, we gain our own home for the soul. When people act with gentleness, our years grow shorter. When anger fills the air, they grow longer. So we try to bend time toward mercy. The little mermaid, no longer only of the sea and not yet of the land, looked once more at the ship. The prince and his bride stood under a white sail. She felt no envy now, only wide love for the wind, the water, and the faces turned to the sun. She rose with her new sisters and traveled the sky's clear road, leaving a cool trail that made sailors smile without knowing why. Far below, in the palace of shells, the Sea King and the sisters felt that same coolness and looked upward. The old grandmother placed new pearls beside the statue in the youngest one's garden and said, "The sea keeps every story it is given." And the one who had been the littlest mermaid learned the many names of kindness. A mother's hush at a doorway, a hand that steadies a stranger, a song sung softly so someone may sleep. Whenever white foam flashed on the rocks, people said, "Listen, the water is laughing." They were not wrong.